What's up, guys? Today we're here with Hannes. He develops technology that's related to calming your mind. He knows a lot about breathing techniques, and he's also an artist. He's had exhibitions in multiple galleries for the past 15 years or so, which is really exciting.
Right.
I really appreciate people with multiple dimensions. But anyways, how's it going, Hannes?
Yeah, Happy New Year. Very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Happy New Year to you too. So for those who don't know, do you mind introducing yourself, telling us what you do?
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Hannes Bent. I'm originally from Norway and Germany, and living in New York, New Jersey area right now for almost 10 years. I'm the founder of Breathing.AI, which is a digital health startup where we're integrating breathing awareness and mindfulness exercises into everyday lifestyles. So, but that came out of years of neuroscientific research. I've done like science, art collaboration. We have a patent on this. And I'm a meditation guide on the side for many, many years, to toddlers in schools, to elderly people, all ages. So been very much learning from everybody what helps humans to feel better, to be more relaxed. And personally, I got into all of this because I had a burst trauma and multiple palsy. So I had decades of anxiety and depression. Even as a successful artist, this is how I started, with museum shows. And so I was still not very happy and suffering from anxiety and depression. I think sometimes it's not so visible on the outside how we're feeling inside. So that's why I got really into mindfulness, like looking in the inside and seeing how we can integrate that more easily into every day into people's lifestyles. That's what we're working on right now. And yeah, thank you so much.
Interesting, man. I have so many questions for you. I don't even know where to start, but it's very interesting because 2 days ago I was listening to a video from Andrew Huberman. So he's a neuroscientist and a professor at Stanford University. I'm sure you've heard of him. Mm-hmm. And he had a podcast with Joe Rogan and he had a podcast with Rich Roll. I enjoyed both of them. And I was always curious to understand, what is it that is different what is it that's unique about breathing and about breathing techniques that no other technique can really provide in that, live fashion? The feedback that you get is very quick. It seems like, you're anxious, you're, let's say, hyperventilating, you're feeling a little down or something, and you use these techniques and it, sparks it back up. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So good. Haven't even thought about it myself, so let me think. So I really because it is true. I tried so many different techniques, and why breathing? I feel it's because it's such a wholesome thing, right? Like if I think about now, it's like if you do it with your whole awareness. If you start breathing techniques, so you're not doing anything else, or you can do something else too, but you're in the moment. If I would do like the deep inhale, obviously I'm aware that we're talking, but I have to bring my awareness to my body. And even if I would have thought of like, oh, this was stressful, then I will bring it to my breathing now. And then I feel like what I love to do is like a letting go exhale. So then we can not only like let go of stress literally in our body, but also like we can also combine it with, kind of like when thoughts are coming up that are negative or so, like we just like letting go exhale. Mm-hmm. And then as you said, on the physiological part, a sigh, for instance, just a simple creates twice as much air flowing into our body. So I feel what you are asking, it's like nothing else can really do that, I think, so simply. Like I've done years of Vipassana meditation where you do like bring awareness to your body, relaxation techniques, yoga, but I feel like just a simple letting go exhale like creates literally twice as much air. And that's why we feel also very lightheaded and dizzy when we do that, a few breaths only. And it has such a profound effect on the body. So, and also I think it's easier. It's easier also to communicate because meditation, mindfulness oftentimes have a certain it's sometimes people are intimidated by that. Oh, you're not supposed to think of something. And then, and it's really hard to not think of anything, even like after almost 10 years of like intense meditation yoga, I feel like you sit down and stuff just comes up. So if I do breathing, then I just focus on my breathing, and I know I'm changing my blood chemistry for the better, and I'm probably going to feel, at least more lightheaded when I get out of it, but probably more relaxed and invigorated at the same time.
Interesting. And you said that this started out of a personal challenge, right? You said that you were dealing with anxiety, or maybe you still are. So has it helped? Has it been helpful towards solving that?
Yeah, no, really, also a very good question. I mean, nothing has helped as much as breathing techniques. So I live a very happy and healthy life right now. I haven't gotten sick in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
But I was still getting sick when I was doing intense yoga and Vipassana. And it was only really until I discovered like Jitumo Tibetan meditation and the Wim Hof method, where I learned like, with like cold immersion, with like being aware of my breathing more, I cannot, I can really literally live a healthier life and be more in kind of like, guidance of my nervous system. I can also like sense, when I need rest, and when my body's fatigued, when I need deeper inhales to nourish my, kind of like my whole blood circulation with more oxygen. So that was really like about 5 years ago, and I just feel the effects. And I mean, I had so birth trauma, so I didn't get enough, like the umbilical cord was around my neck, and there was like a lot of problems there. And then I was supposed to end up in a wheelchair. So there was they did a very torturous physiotherapy with me the first year of my life. My parents, luckily, so I was able to walk, but also that was very traumatizing for me and my parents. And so I believe a lot of, the stress we're experiencing, a lot of the trauma we've experienced in the past is kind of embodied on a subconscious level. And it's really tricky to access that, and sometimes people have the time to do therapy and test out different techniques, but it's not so easy. It's also a little bit intimidating to talk about what we experienced in the past. So I think like very embodied relaxation, meditation techniques, and especially breathing techniques can have a very, very profound impact on people's life and well-being. I had on mine, and I've seen that with like thousands of people I guided oftentimes, and just something as simple as a deep inhale and letting go exhale, it's just like always accessible to let go of stuff. And then, it could be also like an introduction to other meditation techniques. And so I think it's been very healing for me in a way. Obviously there's always so much work to do on oneself and on my life and everything. But I would, I would not give up the breathing technique for anything, so the breathing one is, so I remember it brings me, there's one story, a friend of mine, he's a meditation teacher too, and he's also a CEO of a company from Toronto. He moved back to Toronto. He was in New York, and then moved back during the pandemic. I helped him in April, and but he guided a meditation at his place here in New York. And last time I think I was there, this is a long time ago, almost now, but he said, Hannes, just bring awareness to your breathing. And I said, I can't do that anymore. And it was weird because I was sitting there, we were supposed to bring awareness to our breathing, and I couldn't. Oh, he said like, just observe your breathing. He didn't say bring awareness, he said observe your breathing. And I said like, yeah, I can't just observe my breathing because I'm always guiding my breathing, especially when I'm very aware of it. So I don't know if it's so understandable, because I feel like with all the years of breathing techniques, I'm like, I really enjoy just being aware of my breathing, like being aware of it and guiding it. So when somebody says like, observe it, it feels like I would disconnect from it, So if you say like, just observe your breathing, and then I'll be like, wait, I would have to, because like right now I'm aware of my breathing while I'm talking. And so if I would observe it, it would feel like I would have to, detach from my breathing awareness. And maybe it comes with practice, but I found that interesting. And I think so I feel that's maybe what also led to more happiness, just connecting with breathing. And so it's kind of sometimes hard to explain, but I couldn't really follow I couldn't do anymore what he said, even though that's like a very integral part of Vipassana and other techniques, just to observe your breathing. And I haven't asked Wim, Wim Hof, like how it is for him just to observe the breathing, because he's also a very active breather. But I'm sure like for a lot of people who've done breath work for many years, it's the same. You stop observing your breathing, but you are your breathing in a way as well. You're very actively, always with every inhale, you slow your breathing pace down. So the average breathing is about 15 to 18 inhales per minute. So with breathing techniques, you can actually calm it down to about like 5 to 10 or even less per minute. So instead of breathing, you know, through here, oh, let me show, get a bit higher. So oftentimes, like, you know, people breathe through here, but if you like actually train yourself with breathing techniques, you can, you know, expand your belly more.
So instead of breathing from the chest, you breathe more from the
Yes.
diaphragm.
Yes, exactly. So like that's actually like almost the most important. Some people say it's the most, you know, crucial and important muscle of the human body, but it's very forgotten because it's like, you know, it's here, it's inside, we don't see it, but you know, if we train it, you know, we expand our belly more and then our chest, but that has been helpful like so much, and I feel like it's six pack is so much part of our culture, you know, tensing our body and like kind of like breathing shallow, so you basically kind of show that you're aligned with this, you know, like it's stressful life. But what if we just let go of like, you know, tension of our outer belly and train our breathing muscle from within, you know, and there we can live more fully, I think. But we also like, you know, I walk around with a little bit of a bigger belly because I do belly breathing all the time, and I don't have no shame on that, you know, like my belly is bigger.
Does it actually increase the size of your belly?
I think so, yeah, because with every inhale, I'm kind of expanding it, and sometimes I hear comments, Hannes, why don't you, you know, stock your belly in? And I was like, no, I enjoy like having, you know, a balloon belly. So, but I, you know, I'd rather have a balloon belly because I'm breathing so deeply and feel happy than, you know, tightening myself up and breathing through my chest only.
Right.
So I
So
remember, yeah, I remember a friend of mine, he's like,
I had a small question while you're talking about this. I just minimized this one and I want to open up a new tab just to ask you something before I
yeah,
forget. So you
I
talked
can talk about breathing forever, so interrupt me.
you talked about Wim Hof, right? And other breathing techniques. And from my understanding, you know, in the past 5 to 6 years, awareness and breathing exercises and meditation became extremely popular again and is on the map, right? And myself and many other people have this question as to what really is the right way or technique to do it. And there's a lot of different things, right? I feel like what works for one person might not work for someone else. But as someone who's, you know, studied this field and knows about it, I wanted to know, is there a specific method that's better than any other ones by far?
Just the secret method.
Yeah, that was
I
the
get it.
secret
No,
method.
like I mean, like I obviously like it's like, you know, it's like my own personal preference and my maybe at a certain point my belief, because I haven't done like a study on it or so, or you know, like a large scale. But I do think the natural just the way the human body is built, that we have a diaphragmatic muscle, you know, here, that we like, we're not really, if we're breathing through our chest, we're not really nourishing ourselves with every inhale, and we're triggering the fight or flight mode of our nervous system. So we, you know, our heart rate goes up more, you know, we're I think more prone to disease and, you know, illnesses and anxiety, because we are, you know, we're kind of like in more like stress mode, which we don't have to, because we, you know, right now we're not experiencing stress. So just calming our breathing down and taking balloon belly inhales, I think is the most natural way to inhale. But it goes a little bit against, you know, society, like having a six-pack, tightening, you know, doing like this. So I think a balloon belly inhale is the natural way to breathe. And also, if you think about it, so if we breathe through our belly, we also push our diaphragm down. So it's very, very good for digestion. So sleep, I slept so much better since I started that. I have no problems falling asleep. If you slow down your breathing, take a big balloon belly inhale, and you do that, you know, let's say like 10, 20 times, you're most likely falling asleep at night. And also, and we're also pushing the diaphragm down, so it pushes on the digestion. So it's so good for digestion. You know, you get more oxygen in. So I feel like a balloon belly inhale and then a letting go exhale. So sometimes like a letting go exhale is very good, but also like sometimes it feels like better to like, you know, take a really slow exhale. So it's kind of like feeling it out, experimenting with different, you know, like in the moment. It's not like, sometimes it might be better, you know, like to breathe like this. I haven't experienced it. So sometimes when I do sport, I even feel then, you know, my basketball, you know, partner or like tennis partner, so might feel exhausted. But after, an hour and a half, I feel like, oh, this is usually when I used to do the GIS and I get exhausted, or when I'm running. But now I'm just taking a deep inhale, and I can go on and on. I'm
more
like 40 years
stamina,
old,
more injury. Yeah.
I'm 40 years old now. I never get sore muscles anymore. I used to, like, when I was 30 and playing soccer all the time, I always had sore muscles. Like, there's nothing anymore. So I feel like it really improves, like, the whole blood circulation. And regarding breathing techniques, I think I love the Wim Hof method, the way kind of Wim was guiding it to me. I mean, I've met Wim many times, but he always talking about the letting go exhale. Sometimes when I see him or others guided online.
You've met Wim Hof as well, huh?
Yeah. I'm friends with him and his family. So I brought him to New York for his first workshop here. So I helped him organize it, and then
for those who don't know and are listening in, can you talk about Wim and his technique a little bit?
Yeah, so Wim Hof is a Dutch person who basically, lived a happy life for many decades but very anonymously in like little, in small parts of Netherlands, small villages, with his, wonderful children, and was spreading mindfulness techniques. So he was just like, his wife passed away, and he got back into yoga and meditation more than he was before. And he was a lone father with 4 kids, I think, at that time, in his maybe 30s or so, mid 30s. And so he got more into cold immersion, get yourself into, like, he went into a lake, chopped the ice in the winter and swam in that ice. And then he was training people on, like, breathing techniques, how to do the cold exposure. And he was doing that for decades, and, like, that's what people don't know when they know him now. What?
Have you tried cold immersion as well?
Yeah. I work with him and did, like, cold showers and, like, ice baths and train people in ice baths stuff. But the thing is, like, people don't know, like, now he's very famous. He works with Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey, but people don't know that he was doing that for decades. And I met people who worked with him when he was very, not famous at all. And he was just, like, doing it because he benefited from it himself. And so I met somebody who had, like, very severe rheumatoid arthritis, and he had to give up almost his metal shop, and because he couldn't handle it anymore, and, like, on heavy medication. And he did the cold exposure with Vim and cold rivers and breathing, and then he was able to cut down on the medication entirely almost, and live a happy life. And I've done like ice baths and cold showers and breathing techniques, and so, like, that's a beautiful technique.
There's something about that technique. It's in the beginning, it seems very scary because, myself, I try to expose myself to cold water maybe once a week or two times a week. And it's always a mental challenge, when you want to get under that cold water. It's something.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I mean, the trick is, in a way, to relax your body, and it feels counterintuitive because we're always told, like, put your jacket on when you go outside, and do this. But that's like, if you get hypothermia, like, the body does this and shakes because like, you warm up your muscles, that the muscles are warming up and creating warmth. But actually, we have kind of sort of like an inner fire, it's so called, but like the ability to thermoregulate, we have forgotten about that. Because if you just imagine, like, humanity spread all over the planet, to very cold parts, and they didn't have like a very thick jacket or something. Sometimes they had, like, so I think it's like, it was a natural ability we had as humans, just to live with very little food, with very little water access, because we're, like, nomadic, thermoregulate, and we've forgotten about it. So it's kind of like to learn what society tells us not to do sometimes, because if you go outside in the cold and you're not shivering, but you feel it's cold, or go into culture and you're just trying to relax, and take a deep inhale and slow down your breathing, or in your exhale too, and it usually will work. It's just a kind of like initial thing, as you said, it's mentally challenging, but once you're in that cold shower and you relax, or you're outside in a cold wind or so, but once you relax, it feels counterintuitive, but then it really usually works. And then it's kind of, and then it feels very, like, after a minute and a minute and a half.
Right? The key is to relax.
To relax, to slow down your breathing. Because, like, what happens if, I don't know, my hypothesis is, I haven't done a study on this, but there's like the adrenal glands on the kidney.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you breathe deeply through your belly again, as earlier, then you kind of activate that adrenal glands on your kidney, and it might be kind of like sort of what is called an inner fire, like a fire. It feels like a fireball inside of you. And if we breathe shallow here, we're not activating that adrenal glands on our kidneys. It's a hypothesis, you know. So, but that's what I learned could be true. And because like did clinical studies on Wim Hof's breathing technique, and they shown that people like have an increase of adrenal activity and change of pH levels and so. But yeah, so I think that's
how
what
he's
could happen.
able to access his inner thermostat, like he always says.
Yeah, and like I mean, I walked up like mountains with Wim. There's some footage with in Poland, and you know he's like a very calm breather. You know, it's like like walking up the mountain when he's in shorts and stuff. And so, you know, it's kind of like keeping it cool. You know, and he always says like easy does it. And it's like when our mind, you know, like that fear response, that kind of like, oh no, I can't take it. When that happens, then we're already kind of like a step closer to hypothermia. But if we actually relax and calm ourselves down and breathe deeply, slowly inhale, slowly exhale, usually it's fascinating. I mean, I haven't, sometimes I you know, right now I've done taking cold showers for so many years, and I sometimes stop it because I have a really nice shower right now at my place. And, you know, but then it's snowstorm, a week or two ago here, really bad in New York area. And I thought, okay, I haven't taken a cold shower in a while, but it's really snowstorm, blizzard outside. Is it working? You know, so I walked outside in a t-shirt, and just to see if I still have that ability, you know, to do that inner fire immediately. And it worked, you know, like the snow, there's like a YouTube video, the snow was blowing on my channel, I think, you know, and it was really, for other people, it was very cold, you know, they couldn't go outside with a t-shirt. But it's just a training. It's kind of like learning. Once you learn it, you still feel that pain, that initial pain a little bit going into cold shower, but you know, it is it's like, you know, riding a bicycle. You learn it once, and then you know, you can usually pick it up very easily. So I highly recommend trying to learn it, especially if people have anxiety or depression, or, you know, struggle with low energy. Sometimes in the beginning, if you learn that Wim Hof method technique or others, your energy levels drop a little bit, but there's a benefit to that. It's just so your body adapts to it. That happened to me in the beginning. But I would recommend taking it.
It's cold in Toronto right now, so you know, after this call, I'm gonna go out to the balcony and see if I'll get hypothermia or not.
Nice, cool, awesome. Yeah, I was just outside also without a jacket here. It's like in the 40s or so. But yeah, I would recommend, if people are trying this Wim Hof breathing, if they're doing the breathing rounds, doing that in the warm, and then when you go outside, just trying to take a long exhale. If you're doing it inside, not doing like a forced exhale, so like a letting go exhale, that's what Wim also told me. But what I mentioned earlier is when I see people, Wim or others, guiding it online, sometimes they do a forceful exhale, like kind of like pushing it out. What I found after, like, you know, kind of with my own recommendation in a way, because you asked me earlier what is my preferred one, is like a letting go exhale. So deep inhale and just letting go.
Inhale and then letting go forcefully, right?
No, not forcefully.
Oh,
that's
not
like,
forcefully.
Like, okay. No, sometimes Wim does it like you just kind of like, but I like to let go of that control, you know, like sometimes it's needed for us as humans to also let go. And there's nothing more beautiful to learn to let go than with just a simple exhale, you know. And that's a very interesting fact. There's a study from UCLA. If a simple sigh, a simple letting go exhale creates twice as much air flowing in, you know. So it is, without sighing, we would die, you know. So if we wouldn't sigh a few times a day, a few times an hour, we would literally, our lung wings would be clunky inside. So we really need to, and there's studies of people have anxiety, they sigh more, so it's not a forceful exhale, it's really just like a.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I was listening to Andrew Huberman as well, and he said when you sigh, you're really balancing the levels of oxygen and carbon monoxide in your lungs, which I found very fascinating. Yeah,
twice as much air flowing in, just like the simple, you know, it's fascinating because it like pops up, because we have this 500 million alveoli, you know, it's literally like, you know, I don't know, I don't have anything round here, but it's, you know, 500 balls, like sort of like spheres in, you know, 500 million inside here, or like between 400 to 700 million. and they get very clunky together, you know, because we're breathing and then they get kind of stucky together. So, but if we take a letting go exhale, they open up and they free themselves. And then all that surface area of those spheres, the alveoli in our lung wings, opens up, you know. So so it's kind of like simple geometry in a way, like, you know, like the geometry gets closer, we don't get that much oxygen, we're tight. So that's why when somebody, you know, when we remember the times we were in offices and like somebody sighs next to us, or in school, you were like, are you okay? Because we know if that person sighs like very heavily, they let go of a lot of stress, you know, a lot of tension in their body also.
It's really crazy how much we don't know about our own bodies, like how unaware we are about the inner functions. I'm very curious, Hannes. I wanted to know. So, what are you doing right now with the technological front of integrating, you know, this knowledge that you have with Breathing.AI? I think is what you're working on, right? Yeah. Can you
Thank you for
talk
asking
a
that.
little about that?
Yeah, so so I was always interested in like how to integrate like breathing awareness and mindfulness exercise into daily lives, you know. In New York, people were a lot on their phone, work, didn't have a lot of time to meditate on the side. So I didn't like the VR biofeedback project we developed. It was always a problem, you know, have to give people like VR glasses or like, you know, like a sensor, like a watch or something, or like a heart rate sensor. So we started to use the webcam and machine learning to detect breathing and heart rate patterns. So it's from a simple, you know, the video stream and machine learning, we could, you know, if ours would be, our code would be, you know, like as an interface in that Zoom call right now, or video call we have, then, you know, it could like analyze both of our heart rate or breathing patterns, you know, and it's just like from basically like the red pixelation, like the red pixelation on our skin, as well as like from, you know, movement of the shoulders and other things. So that's what we working on stress detection side. But then our patented technology is learn how we can personalize the screens. So, you know, we're all texting, emailing and stuff, and sometimes, you know, sometimes we're more calm when like the background is a little bit grayish or a little bit bluish, or, you know, or dark mode or so. So we're doing a study with the NSSR lab on here in New York, and other labs at Cornell Tech soon probably, what, you know, to really show like the differences, the personal differences we have, you know. It's like, so for you, for instance, this might be like, you know, if you have like a gray background, you know, maybe you're calmer, you know, and maybe for me it might be like an orange background, or, you know, so it's very different. And that's what we're working on, like how can we personalize the screen designs, the colors, providing color filter. We're also working on that on audio. So we got our patent granted in the US in last year. Oh no, 19 actually. So we and we want to you know, work with other companies that do the same, and kind of you know, expand this technology for companies, you know, give it to companies as patent in a way that are supporting well-being, and then limiting, you know, the misuse of this technology, because as you can tell, it's very powerful, you know, to detect nervous system activity from the webcam and the eye. And we're launching our first product probably end of this month. We're a team of about 20 something. We're like, a few of us are like in and out, because they have to do more full-time jobs sometimes, you know, not everybody's full-time on our team, but every, you know, very devoted team, like with my co-founder and the whole, you know, team lead for UX, like backend and project manager. So it's like, you know, I'm very grateful for my team. We have a wonderful company culture, and it's really like, how can we integrate, you know, stress detection, and then like deeper, you know, how can we stress detection into everyday technology, and then through interfaces, how can we provide, you know, a calmer technological interaction for each user, you know. So
That's
and then little break reminders too. So, yeah.
No, go ahead.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
yeah,
you
no,
off.
like our first product will be like a browser extension, so you can integrate it, and then while you're working on your browser, writing emails, there would be, you know, different colors, color filters, color adaptation, but we would also give different break reminders. You know, when we're detecting you get more stress, you know, it would say like, hey, why don't you take a deep breath, or why don't you like stretch, you know, whatever somebody's favorite exercises are. And, you know, because sometimes we forget, you know, we're like on the screen for hours and we don't remind ourselves to take breaks or taking a walk. And so that's also what we're offering, aside from the
So
design.
the end goal the end goal here, or the ultimate goal, is to provide a better relationship between the user and the technologies that they're interacting with, right?
Exactly. And like make the user's nervous system kind of, driving also how the technological experience is right now. So like right now, I think like we always have to adapt to like what is there, and the design is static. I mean, on a call, like, you're moving, but if it's like a design or something, we can't really, we have to go to settings and change it. So our nervous system has to adapt to, so we have to, like, our well-being has to, is kind of like in a way manipulated, because like this is static and we have to, we're like, oh, I have to interact with this design. Sometimes I have a hard time going into my emails because like, oh, it's in this static design, like this, black on white colors. So what if our nervous system can tell the technology, the technological detect device, like might be a laptop or a phone, to be like, hey, I prefer this type of color, this type of contrast, this type of brightness. And then the device would say like, okay, I'll do that, so you feel calmer, and then the device can, and then also we can select, hey, I like, stretching exercises or deep breathing exercise. And then the device would say, our interface would know like, oh, okay, this is what you like. We're going to offer it to, like, every 20 minutes or something, and remind you, so.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. I mean, the very fact that this is something that you're able to customize for every single person based on their emotions and genetic disposition and their mood and feelings, that's something big, really. And obviously, like you said, it is a double-edged sword in the sense that, biotech is growing more and more. Now the question is, how are we going to use the data? How are we going to ensure privacy and ensure people feel comfortable actually interacting with these as well?
Yeah, it's a good question that came up even more, I feel, before the pandemic, because like the industry sped up 5 years. So before the pandemic, it was always an argument like, who needs stress detection? You can just walk around the office, or take a little break. And webcam was really like uncomfortable for people to turn on. So I think with the pandemic right now, people are using the webcam all the time, and they have way more screen hours usually on average. So I think people are more comfortable using the webcam, and they know there's a need for stress detection and maybe break reminders and so obviously it is kind of like, which company do you trust, which product do you trust, what is the company's values and how they're monetizing it. If big tech companies, as they are right now, would offer a similar product to ours, I'm sure they would, they can run out something faster. I mean, first of all, we have a patent, but then they could run and they would sell our nervous system data, so they would like monetize on that, of course.
Yeah, there's that
And
trust piece, right? They're less trusted, trust based on what they've been doing. Let's say Facebook with the Cambridge Analytica or other companies doing that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it is so like it's just their business model. They're set up to maximum profit, to give us something for free or for very little money, and then to use our personal data for their maximum profit. And we are a company that's not doing that, and we're giving you very clear about how how our technology works, and what's happening with the data, that it runs locally, or if it's been shared to improve our models to provide a better experience, and we're always there to be hold accountable, and to make sure that it's around the user's well-being, and and not like it's it's people over profit. That's really important, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would, by the way, love to use your product, see how it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we can make you a beta tester too.
Be a lab rat. Be the lab rat for the product.
Yes. Yeah, we can give you a beta tester. That's coming up. I just got off a call with the team.
By the way, I wanted to also ask you, because you're in this industry and you might not know the answer to this. I'm just putting you on the spot, but I wanted to know what you think this industry is going to look like maybe 10 years from now, ideally, if we take the right steps moving forward.
Yeah, well, hopefully there's going to be, like good initiatives from the side of the companies, as well as from some like oversight is, I think, needed, because it's biological data and it's very, very sensitive. So hopefully, like companies that are focused on well-being are going to be thriving. And it's not the companies that are trying to, sell this out for maximum profit. So, so I think it could lead really to people feeling personally better, and like, society as a whole just being more calm. Because I think if individuals' stress levels are calming down, then, the collective stress levels go down too. So I see like the digital health industry is thriving right now. And it's going to be more flourishing. There are certain problems with hardwares. If you like use like another watch or like some device you have to put on your body, that's a certain discomfort. And I think like anything that is XR kind of hardware, it's, there's a temporary hype for that, but it will go away. And I think the future will always be, like whatever, cameras, additional cameras. I mean, we're experimenting with like other devices too that could be integrated in smartphones, and, talking with like some smartphone providers and tech companies, how we can, improve that. And I think there's a huge potential for that. And I think what social media was the last 10 years or so would probably be digital health products and the digital health industry in the next 10 years, hopefully.
I certainly hope so, man, because, social media has been so detrimental to society. We kind of need to take a step back and reverse these effects that it had, anxiety and depression and, all of these different problems that people are facing psychologically and emotionally. So yeah, hopefully these things will be able to reverse the impact that social media had.
Yeah, and I do think also, like a lot of things are not known what could improve our lives because they're for free, or they haven't been touched on. Like if you talk about mindfulness techniques, Wim shares a lot for free online, and there's not a big pharma industry. Not like, some medications are good, of course, but there's also sometimes a lot of money being put into that to develop something and then for marketing. So people know more about, certain pills to help them because it's just more in the news, in the marketing, in the advertisement. And but there is, as you said, there's also, similar as there's like products to help us with headaches, like pills, there's also, huge techniques to help us like to not, get, that easily anxious or, or a flu or something when we just breathe better and stuff. And I've experienced that personally, and I do think, that's something that could really, that's underutilized. But as soon as companies figure out like how to kind of, support the well-being of the users are paying for their own, for having that, and it's like a win-win-win instead of like a win and then somebody loses in a way by having their personal data sold out. So as making it a win-win-win, and then everybody's happy, and that's kind of how I see it. And
hopefully I'm gonna open up that tab that we closed about 30 minutes ago. I wanted to really quickly, for the people listening as well, ask you, when we face social anxiety or when we face some sort of a emotional or psychological barrier when we want to move forward, do you have any tips for how we can overcome that? Because there are a lot of people really dealing with anxiety, and especially social anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might sound a little bit repetitive but I really, for me, it works always. It's kind of like have that breathing awareness, deep breathing and letting go, exhale, relaxing the body. I feel like oftentimes I'm holding a lot of tension when I think about, stuff that is uncomfortable. And I just notice that just sometimes just lying down and noticing, like, oh, I can always relax my shoulders more than, I did before. Even now I'm noticing, I feel like I can always drop my shoulders more than I like, and, like facial tension, and just like lying down, scanning the whole body from, toes to crown of our head and relaxing it. And then, really like embracing every inhale and, letting go, exhale. We're by ourselves, listening to the sound. Also like a thing I like to, if you close your eyes and you just listen to the sound of your breath, it almost sounds like waves, and then, just really bringing the awareness to ourselves and like the beauty of our own, mind, body. And because I think a lot of social anxiety and stress, we're focusing on the outer things, on like the news or whatever, and which things we can't really control or, we can't change in that moment. So, obviously I struggle with that too, like I'm not happy about a lot of things, interpersonally sometimes, or, in the news. So, but what I can do is just like, do this and be like, I'll try to let that go, and like breathing, deep inhale, letting go, exhale definitely helps me in that process.
Interesting. Well, these are good tips. I'm gonna I'm gonna put these into practice and give you updates on how I
Nice, yes.
give you
It's
updates.
sometimes it sounds too simple to be true,
It
but
does,
just,
but it's the simple thing.
barely, it's a simple thing, yeah.
It's the simple
It's a
things.
simple thing.
I want to say, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Hannes. You guys heard it from Hannes first. He's been practicing this for years, so definitely, put these into practice and let us know what your results are as well. But
if I can say one thing, like, so my obviously, like, I'm a fan of science and whatever they develop to help with the pandemic and all the guidelines and stuff. But I do think if people want to learn something that can help them, like, my sister had really bad symptoms with the virus at home. She's a single mom, younger actually than me. And it got worse and worse and worse, and we tried like deep inhales, letting go exhales, and relaxing, and she got gradually better. And then friends of mine in Uganda, her mom had it, and her cousins stuff, they did that too. So, but my sister was sitting down and just doing this for half an hour. She was like sitting there, deep inhales, letting go exhales. Because the problem is with the virus is that, or one of the problems, I wrote a Medium article, it's like in April or May or so, 2020, so a Medium. So, the problem is that like the breathing gets shorter, and there's muscle aches and stuff. So there's not a lot of oxygen coming into the blood flow. And just with simple belly inhales and letting go exhales, my sister was within, a few minutes able to feel much better. And she really gradually got better, and like the other people too. And I haven't tested it on more than, a handful of people now or so. But if somebody has symptoms and, and they don't have any therapeutics or vaccines or anything available, and they're a little bit helpless, what to do, just trying deep inhales, letting go exhale. And if you do that for half an hour, just consistently just sitting there, deep inhales, letting go exhales, helped my sister a lot. And, I would do it if I haven't gotten the virus yet, but as soon as I would be positive and feel some symptoms, I would also try that myself.
Yeah, man, people are always trying to make things complicated, come up with complicated solutions when we have our own bodies that we can regulate and heal ourselves,
Yeah, so true.
Well, Hannes, thank you very much for, hopping on, and it was really a pleasure speaking with you.
You too.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll be in touch. I'm gonna give you some updates on how I find it.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everybody.
Take care.
Stay safe and healthy.